Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, with us. Don, sorry about that. We're running a little bit behind. I couldn't hear to start the show out. That's never good, as you would know. But a fun weekend of basketball. One that did not include Indiana, unfortunately, the Indiana women. Shout out to them because they went down and not only they won their first game, they were leading number 1 South Carolina at the half. Unfortunately, they end up losing to the Gamecocks 64-53. But hey, if you're going to go out, if you're playing the number 1 team on their own damn home court, lose by less than single digit or lose by single digits, that's a pretty good run. So congratulations to Terry Moore and that group.
Yeah, they did a terrific job this year. I think the fact that they did not have the inside presence that they had for the 4 or 5 years that Mackenzie Holmes brought to the table was a big factor for this ball club this year. And Terry, I think, did a remarkable job in getting her kids to do what they needed to do to be as competitive as they were at most ball games this season. They had a blip on the schedule a couple, 2 or 3 times, but the job that they did with the roster that they had, I think, was pretty remarkable. And to get to that ball game against South Carolina, a chance to get to the Sweet 16, but obviously it didn't happen. But you're playing the number 1 team, as you said, on their home floor. And that's very tough sledding, to say the least. So congratulations to the girls. And now Terry's got another job ahead of her now, because she's got to she's got 3 players that are gone: Sydney Parrish, Chloe Moore, McNeil, and the Stripling girl. Those 3 are all gone too. 3 starters gone. So she's got work to do in that regard. And I know they've got some kids on the bench that are going to come around and be pretty good too. But the one thing about Terry is she seems to be able to find and fill the gap, so to speak.
Yes, she's done a great job. And 2 of those names that you listed, Chloe Moore McNeil and Sydney Parrish, they were kind of anchors of this program. Even though Sydney Parrish transferred in, she seems like she's been an anchor. So that's also something, a lot of leadership that you're giving up there as well. So we know that she'll continue to do a good job. The men side have to do the same thing, a little bit different, because you don't have a Terry Moore who has been established as the coach, who's been there, who has relationships out in the state and beyond. You've got a new coach on the men's side, and now he has to go out and do the same thing. He's got a team that he has to fill. A lot of guys that are just leaving naturally by graduation and whatnot. A couple others that are hitting the portal, not necessarily going to leave, but then you've had some like Bryson Tucker. We have not seen him enter the portal, which I think is great news. The fact that they're saying, hey, you know what, especially in this day and age, for a kid to go, I'm going to wait and check it out. I've got time. Don't see that a lot. And I've got to give a shout out to him for doing that, and whomever else may have done that.
Well, obviously Rice, Carlisle are 2 other players that very possibly. Luke Goody, of course, is trying to get a medical red shirt that if he gets that, he wants to stay at Indiana based on everything that I've heard. So there are some pieces there that could still be around if, in fact, these guys decide not to get in the portal. And, of course, DeVries, when he was announced, talked about the fact that he was going to talk to all the players for kind of an exit interview if they wanted to leave. And if not, obviously, to welcome those guys to stick around. And if they fit what they're all looking, what the coach and his new coaching staff will decide to do. And that's the other thing that Darian's working on at this point. He's got to get a coaching staff. And I don't know that he's going to get a whole new coaching staff or he's going to bring people with him from West Virginia or Drake, wherever he was at before, in those two places. So we'll have to wait and see on all that because it's been very quiet at this juncture. I've seen nothing in regard to any announcements about coaches that will be joining Darian at this juncture, but we'll have to see how that all plays out. The good news is that there is one recruit that's probably going to be at Indiana in this new regime, and that is the coach's son, Tucker DeVries. And that kid has got a tremendous resume, two-time player of the year in the Missouri Valley Conference, goes to West Virginia last year, was knocking down shots like never before, I guess 47, 48% from the three-point line before he got hurt, 7 or 8 games into the season, and then was lost for the rest of the year. Without question, this is a basketball coach, in my opinion, after watching his press conference, said so many things, maybe differently, but said the same kind of things about how to build his program that Curt Cignetti did when he came to Indiana University. I thought his press conference reminded me so much, at least in content, not necessarily how it was said or the way it was said, those kind of things, but the way he talked about how to build a roster, construction, how important of a construction of the roster is, meaning you've got to look into these players that you're going to get, find out what kind of character they do have, and if they have the right thinking process to come to Indiana University to be players at IU. That, to me, the way he talked about that aspect of it was just crucial because no knock on Mike Woodson and his staff, but they went out and tried to find the top-rated players, so to speak, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
In the portal and thinking that would be the way to do it. I think, first of all, you've got to look at the kid's background and whether he fits what you're trying to build. And I think DeVries said that in his very first press conference.
Yeah. What's the phrase, production over potential, that we always hear from Curt Cignetti, which is, what can you do it for us now, not 3 years from now? And
Right.
I get that. And I'll be honest with you, I think Curt Cignetti has taught a lot of people in Indiana about how to put together a modern day roster with all of those things. And I say that because there was a lot of similar language, a blueprint, and having a plan, having a process, your standards, and all of those things that have
Right.
to be in place to be successful. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Here's a little piece of information you might want to have for next season when the games start. When Coach DeVries was at Drake in the MVC, on the all-freshman team, of course, Tucker DeVries was joined by one Blake Sisley, who was at Evansville at the time, whose brother, Trent, will be a teammate of Tucker, most likely. So,
Well, that's good insight.
There's always little combinations there, so it's weird. So they already have a family relationship of sorts
Right.
there, and which is good to see because I like Trent Sisley's a kid coming in that I think is going to be a perfect fit for this style, for what you're going to see from DeVries, who runs a balanced. You're going to see a balanced kind of coaching style, I think, between offense and defense, and that's something I think Indiana fans are going to enjoy seeing.
Well, I agree. His explanation of how he wanted to play the game, so to speak, was pretty impressive. I think wants to score in the first 10, 12 seconds after they get a rebound or get down the floor and get it down as quickly as they can, get a shot off if they can, a good shot. But if they can't, then they settle into a half-court offense. But that if you watched all the games this past weekend, 90% of these teams are playing exactly that way. Try to get down the floor as fast as you could and then get a shot if you can. If you can't get one, then you settle into your half-court offense and work it from there. I all I can tell you is the way he conducted himself in that press conference, the things that he said, and then in a short conversation I had with him after in the IU locker room after the press conference, I'm all bought into this guy. There's just no question in my mind. He's an affable guy, a guy that's approachable, has a great personality when you just sit down and one-on-one and talk to him. I know he's a tough coach, and he can be as tough as anybody out there in regard, but I think he's one of those guys that knows how to handle players and understands the thinking process, especially from the standpoint he's not going to get guys that he can't handle or guys that he doesn't think fit. He's going to, just because they're talented, he's going to find the guys that fit what he's looking to build here. And I can go to one other coach in this state that has done it exactly that way. And that's a guy up north that our in-state rival, Purdue, and Matt Painter's done exactly the same thing. The way he talked, the way DeVries talked in that press conference and our conversation afterwards, totally bought in here.
Yeah, it is. You can tell he has a plan, most importantly,
right.
And he knows what that plan is. He has a blueprint. I hate to use the same words over and over, and he is going to plan accordingly with the players he needs to get, some of which he can keep off of the current roster, but others he can go out into the portal and get, which they have a slight jump. So they're probably able to look at some players right now, and I would not be the surprise. The portal opens today for the rest of the college players, except for those that are still playing. I guess they could enter the portal, but that would be very strange for you to enter the portal off of a team that's still going. So anybody that has been knocked out of the tournament, there's some names that we could see quickly go in, and I expect to quickly see some of these to start fill in.
Well, and then the other aspect that is that he's got to find a coaching staff, and that I'm sure has been ongoing ever since he got the job. I don't know if he's going to bring people with him from West Virginia or guys that were at Drake with him. I just don't know how that's all going to play itself out. We'll find out probably more about that this week, I would assume. That's an assumption on my part. Doesn't mean it's factual. Because I think there will be news made here in the first week once that portal's opened, and now that he's had a chance to look at guys that he wants to bring in for his staff. So it's going to be very interesting here. The next week and a half, 2 weeks are going to be really, I think, newsworthy in regard to what Indiana basketball is all about.
Yeah, I would be surprised if you don't see Corey Barnett come, who was with him at West Virginia, but that's just because, well, number one, he was on the Indiana basketball team. Number two, great relationships within the state of recruiting and beyond. So the great recruiting ties. He's been an assistant coach for a long time at UCLA and Nevada under Steve Alford. So he has a great deal of experience and Indiana connection. Boy, it would be hard to imagine him not being on the staff. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he made no indication to me, and I did ask him about, if he's going to bring people with him or had he decided on any of his staff at that point when I talked to him in the locker room after the press conference. And he said, yeah, we're working on it. We said he was just evaded everything I asked, but and I understand why he would at this point because. And
he know who you are, Don? I mean, he's not just talking to anybody. He was talking to you.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean a thing. Trust me. But I can ask Mike Woodson. Anyway, that's a bad joke. Sorry.
No, it's actually pretty funny. You don't have to worry about that one anymore. But that's the good thing about that. And it will be interesting to see how he does deal with the media. I think he's going to do fine. He seemed to be a lot better speaker when he wasn't reading from his notes. And I'm not cracking on him for it. I'm just saying, he had some certain things that he had to read off.
No, you were cracking on him.
But then once he got speaking freely, he was rolling. He was much more more comfortable.
When people ask him questions, he was able to answer those questions without a hitch. So no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And look, some of these guys, some coaches, and a lot of coaches, if they have to go off script, they do sound mechanical, so to speak. When they're actually just answering questions and things like that, you find out what they really think. So anyway, long story short, I'm totally bought in. I think this guy's going to do a tremendous job at Indiana University. I think we're going to be in for a lot of fun here in the next couple of years.
Well, and hopefully next week you'll have all the information we need. We'll know who the staff is. We'll know all the players that are coming. I'm just kidding. Hopefully we'll see. But
well, we to have another show next week, we need to have that information. So why don't you call in to Charlie Duffy and make sure that he understands that we need that information now.
I'll tell Charlie, damn it, make sure we have it. Just kidding. Well, brother, I hope you have a great week and can get out and hit the links a little bit.
Well, the weather isn't cooperating very well at this point. We'll see how it all plays out. But at this juncture, we've got still 4 teams left out of the Big Ten that's in the NCAA tournament. I think in my brackets, I've got 10 teams left out of the Sweet 16. So that's not bad. It's not great. I don't have Duke in there. I had Duke getting upset in the second game of the tournament.
I was going to have them getting upset in mine. I didn't even get to get a bracket in. I looked up and it was like 12:05 and I got locked out. And I'm like, give me a loss for the one game that's going on right now. I'll take it. But
I have Florida and Houston in the final game. I
like that. I got Florida. I have Florida picked to win it all. So
I have Houston picked to win it all. So.
Well, Houston up against Purdue up next, the Big Ten showdown with the Boilers. And so we'll find out. Also, SEC showdown, Florida, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there was yet one other Michigan State and Ole Miss. There's another one showdown between the Big Ten, along with Auburn and Michigan coming up.
Yeah. Yep. 4 Big Ten teams left, and congratulations to those guys. The Maryland one yesterday was unbelievable.
Man.
I still think, well, here's what I do know after watching the tournament, a lot of the tournament ball games in this past weekend. I don't think traveling anymore is called very often. And there's no doubt in my mind that we're turning into the NBA in that regard.
I hear you.
I could not believe how many times I saw traveling in every ball game that I saw, and it was not called. Hardly ever.
Derek Queen makes some great moves, but there was one he made, and I'm like, 1, 2, 3. I was saying,
and the winner, and the game winner.
Yeah,
thank you, boys and girls.
Don Fischer, we appreciate you as always, my friend.
Good being with you, Jim. See ya.
You betcha. There's the voice of the Hoosiers joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.